Hello and good evening to today's college application experience sharing session. We have 6 students here, all graduating and have just finished their college applications, and they'll be talking about their experience applying for college throughout the 4 years of high school and even beforehand. So let's first start with introductions.
Hi, my name is Evan Ding. I'm going to NYU School of Arts and Science, and I'm majoring in biology.
Hi, my name is Sue Nian. I'm going to Cornell Arts and Science. I'm majoring in neuroscience and I'm pre-med.
Hi, I'm Daniel Chen. I'm going to Vanderbilt University in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm currently undecided.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Fay and I'm going to NYU Stern School of Business and my intended major is finance.
Hi everyone, my name is Vincent Yang. I'm going to Indiana University in Kelley School of Business and majoring in finance.
All right, thank you very much, and let's get right to it. So, before we talk about the meat of the application, let's first talk about how you guys felt before the time for the application came. So, when have you guys decided to start writing up your application, and why do you decide to start at that time?
Yeah, so I started over the summer, so I think that's like the best time to start it since you have like a lot of free time to like really think and develop your essay.
I also started in the summer. I wrote a draft in the summer and I actually ended up using the essay I wrote in the summer. I recommend probably writing your essay I think in the summer through like fall, because I think in fall it's like when you really start building up like ideas and like when you go through your senior year, especially in the fall, then you start generating like a lot of new ideas and you gain new perspectives, especially I thought in the fall for me. And yeah.
Yeah, so I started in the summer too. I believe the Common App, their like the personal statement, the prompts open I think in August. So I say the best time to start is during the summer, August. Read the prompts, figure out what you want to write about, and usually the supplemental essays, which for most colleges you have to write supplemental essays that are specific to that university, and those usually come out sometime like between like September and October. So I'd say like focus on your personal statement during the summer, and try to get at least a draft of that done before you move on to your supplementals.
So I also started right before the summer where I began working on my personal statement the most. So that one is the Common App essay that you basically send to every single school and it's 500 words max. And I think I agree with Daniel because it really is your personal reflection and you really need to know yourself well before you start any school-specific supplemental essays. And even though you started really early in the summer, you don't have to submit it until the actual due date of your college application deadline. So you have the whole summer to work on it, basically.
I also started the summer before 12th grade on my personal statement, and basically I think it's better to get it done before basically summer ends, so you have a basic idea of what your draft is and what you can do. So then you can actually start working on your supplementals throughout the year when colleges actually start releasing them. And I would say a good tip is just having a basic idea of what you want to write, because many colleges have the same prompt, the same general idea, so it's kind of easy to just copy and paste like the same format throughout your essays, and you kind of reuse them in the same ideas.
All right, thank you very much. And but except for the essay writing part of the college application, when did you really structure your application based off the classes you took, or did you structure the classes you take in high school for an application? So basically asking you, when did you decide on what major you want to be, and did you really know this early, or did you know this at a later time?
Can I go first? Okay. So I really didn't intend on pursuing any field in business until the end of my sophomore year. And you know why that was? It was my 10th grade chemistry honors teacher, Mr. Gottleiser. I had him with Sue, and he basically made me realize that this was not fit for me. And then I experimented actually pretty late into my high school career. I started taking more business classes in 11th grade, where I realized that like all of the concepts seemed so easy for me to comprehend, and it made me realize that I was actually really passionate in the field of business.
So I actually I've always known I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to pursue something in the med field ever since I was 4, and because I really like the idea of helping people, but I never really knew what I wanted to do specifically in the medical field until I would say freshman year. I was always going between OBGYN or neonatal, and then I finally settled on neuroscience in freshman year. And I just want to let everyone know that it's completely normal if you go undecided or you have no idea what you want to do in the future, and something will spark for you eventually. It doesn't even have to be in high school, it can be in college or even later on. And I know so many friends of mine who don't even know what they want to be and don't even have an idea. And I was just letting everyone know don't be worried or anything.
All right. Well, can we continue a question here? So, you knew that you wanted to be something in the doctor's field even before high school, I assume, since you decided in ninth grade to be a neuroscientist. How did you structure the classes you took on the fact that you wanted to become a neuroscientist? And could you give some examples as to what your thought process was before the application started coming?
So I structured my classes very heavily around the fact that I wanted to pursue the medical field. So, for example, in junior year of high school, I took AP Bio, and I also think for the medical fields, also for neuroscience specifically, it's also very important that you be a well-rounded student in both, not even just science, but also math. And I really, really love math. So I did take AP Pre-Calc, but I did kind of regret not taking math theory. Also in senior year, I took AP Calculus BC and AP Chemistry, and I also took college anatomy and physiology, which I think is very, very crucial if you want to pursue the medical field. To take anatomy and phys in senior year of high school, you have to first take AP Bio in junior year. It's a prerequisite. And then in senior year of high school, college anatomy and physiology is a dual enrollment program. It's linked with Stony Brook. So whatever you were learning in high school for anatomy and phys, the people in Stony Brook are also learning the same exact thing. And I thought that anatomy and physiology was a really rigorous course, and I actually thought it was harder than AP Calculus BC and AP Chem combined, and I really struggled through that class, I can't lie. But it was really fun, and it was a very mind-opening experience towards the medical field.
All right, thank you very much, Sue. Let's go to this next question for the people who haven't spoken. What really attracted you to go to the college that you chose out of the colleges that you applied to? Because I'm certain that you applied to more than one college. So why did you choose this one over the others?
Yeah, so if you've forgotten already, I chose to go to NYU, and I ED there. So I primarily chose this one because of proximity and location, honestly. So my parents, they run a medical clinic in Flushing, so I thought that proximity with them would help me get a boost on my med school application through them, since I thought they said they could help me. So I thought that was a major plus on why I chose NYU.
Yeah, so I'm going to Vanderbilt University, and I say one of the most attracting parts of it for me is just the flexibility in terms of selecting a major. So I'm undecided, so I have a lot of freedom to choose what major I want, and I can also pick a second major, a double major, or I can get a minor in a different school. So I can go to, they have Peabody, they have, which is a school of education and management, so I can get a major in a school like that, or I can go music if I really wanted to. And also, I like to add, I think it's important to, if you don't have a dream school, I think it's important to keep it that way, because a lot of the times, even if you ED, it's possible that you don't get into your top choice school. So I think it's important to keep your mind open and think of other schools that you'd be happy going to, and yeah, just making sure you're okay with whatever school you end up going to.
No, you to Vincent.
Okay, but I would like to speak.
Oh yeah, if you want.
I don't mind. But I chose to ED to NYU Stern basically because of the culture and the connections to Wall Street. So ever since I was 12, this is back when I was thinking of doing pre-med. I actually wanted to do pre-med at NYU before I wanted to apply to NYU for business. And I always wanted to live in the city until, well, I still want to live in the city, but I just really liked how it was so easy to network to Wall Street, and basically everything is going to be in New York, so I'll stay in New York. And I love how my specific school has a specific program which really develops you as a person, not just for your next incoming job, but through your entire career. And that really inspired me because I thought that being in New York, being in this college would both challenge me and make me more ambitious as a person.
Yeah, so I chose Indiana University for like many reasons. I didn't really want to stay too close to home. I also wanted to go to a school that's program is strong in the field I chose to go to or like working in the future. So I mostly chose Indiana because of their investment banking workshop. I hope to get in it in the future, and also just the student life around it. I mostly prefer like campuses that are big and not like close to like a really big city, I would say. So I would also say like where you choose to go plays a big factor because you don't really know if you like living in the city you go in, or it really depends honestly. And also for many of the other business schools that I applied to, they didn't really have like a strong like sports culture. I really just like enjoy watching sports, so that also played a factor in why I chose the school. And yeah.
Alright, thank you. One last thing about these college is how did you determine which colleges to apply to? Because I'm sure there's many colleges that all offer similar majors, a nice culture at their campus, but what really created the list for your so-called reach, safety, or target schools?
So for my college, I think I applied to 18. Well, I actually applied to 7, because I got into my ED, but I had 18 on the list. So for the 18 that I picked, I remember we made a spreadsheet, and I basically ranked it from highest priority to least priority. And then the colleges I picked were primarily based off of which colleges have the strongest, which colleges are strongest in neuroscience or just bio in general. And that's how I kind of conglomerated my list based off that. In the beginning, we had around 50 colleges, and we just started getting rid of some that were either unrealistic for me, based off stats, and then we also got rid of some that just weren't as strong as others, for neuroscience specifically. And we also at the bottom for low priority is more of safety schools rather than me looking at if they're strong in neuroscience or biology or not.
So I ended up with 16 colleges on my list. Originally, I think there were 21, but I really want to stress that if you're going to apply to a college, you want to make sure that you actually do your background research on it. Because at the end of the day, I know academics are a part of it, but you really want to make sure that you actually enjoy the student life there. I know I took off some colleges off my list. I ended up with 16. But because I realized that maybe the school wasn't going to be fit for me. And you really want to especially go on their website and see their requirements. And basically just do a lot of research on their stats for their median students. So I thought that as long as I was above the median quartile, then maybe that would be a nice school for me to apply to. But I ended up applying to around 3 or 4 safeties because I wanted to make sure that if things weren't going to end very well, I would still have a place where I would be very happy to go to in the end.
Alright, thank you. Does anybody else want to say anything?
So I was also like in the like upper end of how many schools I applied to. I think I applied to around 25. Yeah. So what I did was I just applied to a lot of read schools. So I think those are the schools that you really want to go to. You really like their program or some other factor. And I'd say focus a little bit less on your safeties because like these are schools that you think at least you're definitely going to get into. So I'd say try to minimize those and focus on the schools that you really want to get into. And I'd say like when deciding, like because I was undecided, so I ended up applying to a lot of schools because of that. Yeah.
Daniel, I have another kind of question for your application. You said that you were undecided for your major. So how do you apply for colleges, or how do you choose which colleges to apply for, even though you're undecided? Like, what's the thought process behind the colleges that you pick?
Yeah, so I wasn't looking at like a specific program. I was looking just at like the overall academics in general, and also just like I guess career opportunities and just yeah, basically that.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else to say? No. Vincent.
So I also put all my colleges in a list or like tier list, like students did, and ranked them from like first to last. So I applied to around like about 17 or 18 colleges, and mostly I'm primarily focused on at least getting a few safeties and targets in, so I wouldn't have to worry if all my reaches failed. And honestly, all you really need is one reach to get in to the good college that you really want to go to. And I also think you also kind of have to focus on not applying to too many colleges. I would recommend applying to like a good amount, but like you don't want to like overkill it and like get burnt out on writing your essays and making all of them like bad in general compared to having 2 strong ones. So I would say just apply to some colleges you really want to get into. I would say apply to a lot of reaches and just have a few safeties to fall back on.
All right, thank you everybody for sharing, and let's get to the next section of this experience sharing session. So, what do you think for the finance kids over here is the strongest part of your application to get to specifically a finance major and not in general?
Okay, so I know for anything business related or even finance related, what they're really looking for is for your leadership. And of course, they want to see how well academically you do, because they want to make sure that you can actually keep up at their school. But if you want to do business, you don't want to fall short by not being able to communicate well with other people. So I would say definitely you can show your leadership in basically anything. It could be work related, it could be in volunteer groups like these, or it could be through clubs. Like I know a lot of people who do business or finance are in DECA or FBLC for Jericho students, and a lot of other school-related business clubs like entrepreneurship club, investment club, etc. And I think basically extracurriculars play a big part in that.
All right, Vincent.
So I didn't really know I wanted to go into business school until like the start of 12th grade, so I was kind of late on starting my extracurriculars centered around business. So I didn't do like any of the big like normal things that most business students would do, like going to DECA or going to investment club or things like that. Actually, no, I did go into investment club for a little bit. I would also say like a big thing is that business schools do want to see your leadership and things like that. Having strong academics will give you an advantage over others as you're compared to students in your own school. So like the average for a school could be low, but you're actually competing against students in your own school. If you can't go above them, then you're not going to get into your school. I would also say, like Catherine said, leadership is also an important thing. I'm not really sure what I did to get into business schools, but I think I showed my leadership in like many ways. Like, yeah.
Wait, can I just add something? About leadership, it doesn't, like you don't even need to be like president of DECA club or like vice president of relations or something like that. They're really looking for the actual quality of leadership. So I know that I worked a lot during my high school years, and if I talk a lot about exactly what I did, they could basically read through your application and see what type of person you are. So I wouldn't say that titles are 100% everything. even though they do matter a lot. It can even be through leadership, through music, like if you are your section's music group leader or anything art related too.
Uh,
I would also say like volunteering is also a big thing. If you volunteer, it's definitely a plus to your application. Like I basically like, I guess I showed leadership like starting a nonprofit music group and just playing music at seniors' homes. Like I guess that showed leadership. So yeah, that definitely helps.
All right, let's ask the same question for the bio and pre-med students over here.
So for pre-med, one of the most important things that they do look for, or the biggest thing, is that you have passion for the medical field. And when I mean passion, that you have passion for helping people, and you really, really want to center your extracurriculars or your writing on the fact that you like helping people, and you genuinely have passion for the medical field. So one of the most important things that I think I did that really stood out was that I'm going into neuroscience, but I'm very interested in doing pediatric neurosurgery or just pediatric neuroscience, like research in general. So during my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I volunteered as a teacher assistant for the ABA program. ABA is Applied Behavioral Analysis Program, and that is a program where you are constantly surrounded with kids that have autism or speech difficulties, because speech difficulties are often tied with kids that have autism as well. And you're working as a teacher assistant with a specialist, and you usually are working in a group of 10 students that have autism. And you're working from, like, I arrive sometimes at like 7 a.m. and you're working till like 6 p.m. with kids like these. And then I also shadowed a speech pathologist, and basically we did small sessions of like usually an hour to 2 hours with kids that also have speech difficulties or autism, and you're sitting there kind of just observing the setting and the environment. And also a lot of this comes off of interaction. So as a teacher assistant, you're always interacting with kids that have autism, and I wrote about that for my personal statement. I wrote about that experience, and I really think that these two experiences were my biggest shows.
So for me, like I'm just not going to talk about what Sue said because that'd be like redundant. But I do want to talk about like other extracurriculars such as research, for example. So I do think research is a big plus, as many of you may know. Especially our school, the research program is actually really nice. So I know most of these people, they can take the full 4 years of research, but I do think it helps a lot, especially in senior year when you're applying for Regeneron. I think that in itself is a good experience that would help you with college in general, and I did put that on my what is it called, like my application. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
I have a couple extra questions to ask you. So, what research did you actually do, and did you enjoy it a lot more than your regular classes, or did you think of it more as like a job you had to do for a better application?
Yeah, so I did research in and out of school. So I did one project in my 10th grade class, which we don't talk about because that was pretty bad, but it gave me a lot of experience on how research works in general. Then using that experience, I applied. So I had like an internship at NYU, Langone, where I did research in one of their laboratories. So this was like, basically I was just like under a professor, and she just like showed me how to do things and like what to do basically, like I said that before, but yes, I think that was a big factor that played a role in me getting into NYU.
All right, and for Daniel here, you are an undecided major. So to me, it sort of feels like you don't really have a special interest for any specific topic or class to say. So what about your application do you think is strongest for you to get into any college?
Yeah, so what I've heard about undecided applicants is actually there's 2 types of them. So there's the first type, which is just kind of like you're not really sure what you're doing and you haven't really like experimented or pursued anything in general. And I'd say I'm the second kind, which is you pursue many different clubs, activities. So what I did is I pursued a bunch of stuff like both like through school, like through classes, as well as through clubs. So I've done stuff such as like DECA, AI Club, Aviation Club, Triumph. So I've done a lot of things. So I think that kind of what helps me stand out as an undecided applicant, which is just they want to see that you tried to pursue things that interest you, or you've tried many different things, not just like I'm undecided and I don't really know what I'm doing. It's more like I applied as an undecided, but I still like pursued these many different things, and I could potentially pursue one of them in the future, and I'm still deciding, you know.
All right, thank you very much. So now let's go into extracurricular activities. So I think a really important question is, which extracurricular activities do you think are most meaningful to you? It does not necessarily have to be like the strongest part of your application, saying I joined DECA to do a better finance major, but what is the most meaningful to you as a person? Which club? Anybody can go extracurricular activities.
I'll start. Okay, so I don't think this helped me a lot in my application, but it was really music, because I've been playing flute since the 4th grade, and I've been in an outside performing arts program since I was in 5th grade. So I've been doing this from grade 5 to 12, and it really showed me just how amazing music can be. And it's one of my dearest passions. I know that it didn't really help me in my application because I'm not really pursuing music, but there's really not much else to say.
So I think one of the most important extracurriculars for me would be playing the piano. It was kind of big because I wrote my whole personal statement about playing the piano. And you might not think that it's that important since it's not like a big club or anything. I didn't really do anything big with playing the piano. I didn't go to like any international competitions or things like that. But I think what really mattered was like how unique something could be and how it stands out. Because many people tend to write the same general formula on their essays, always following the same path. I think there's always something you could do to like stand out a little bit. And even though playing the piano didn't like teach me anything about business, I kind of tied in the traits about how it taught me the qualities and character traits needed in order to be a good business student, like perseverance, confidence, things like that. And yeah, I think that really helped, and it helps stood out in my application, and that's why I got to college I got into.
So, like Catherine and Vincent, I also thought that music stood out like a lot in my application, alongside what I talked about previously on my like autism, being a teacher assistant in an autism program, and also shadowing a speech pathologist. I think so. I've been playing piano for 13 years now, and I have won a lot of like awards for piano. And I think piano has taught me a lot of things about myself that I don't think I would have explored if I didn't do piano. And I did write about my supplementals for one of my supplementals for Cornell. I did write about piano and what it has taught me about the community, what it has taught me about myself and my personality. So talking about awards, like I personally feel like you don't have to win like huge awards or anything to make it stand out. For colleges, one of the most important things is continuity. So if you have pursued something for a very long time, then it does show like you have continuity and you genuinely do have interest in what you're doing. So for awards, I did have like a few regional, a few national awards, but then I think the most important award for me for piano is I did get into a spring conference, which is like it's like all state for orchestra, but it's for piano, if that makes sense. It's like NISMA award. So yeah.
That should be it then. A lot of musicians, but I think that just goes to say that you shouldn't really structure your whole life or high school life based off your major or calling for a specific college application just to get a stronger application and stuff. You still want to do things that you enjoy or love to do. Now, let's go to a major part of the application, which are going to be the essays. So let's first talk about the Common App essay. How do you go about drafting up and writing a Common App essay, and how long, including all the drafts that you made and like the discarded and kept writing over and over again, trying to get a really good essay. What was the experience throughout that?
Okay, to start, I know a lot of people, they make jokes about how they always want to put a sob story, like, oh my god, my grandma died, whatever, right? And they put in their essay, but like that's one thing to avoid. But I really think that I know college apps give Common App gives you 7 prompts to begin with, and you can choose to talk about anything you want even, and one is like a freestyling prompt. And I think that before you begin, you really need to brainstorm and really sit down at your chair and think about what kind of person you really are. Like, what have you gone through? What are your aspirations? What do you really want in life? And you really have to know yourself before you can start writing. And I think you can, of course, include some hardships you've gone over, because that shows hard work and grit. You don't want to you don't want to just like throw everything at them and make them try to impress them by saying, oh, like I did this by winning this award or that award or that award. They already know that you've did this and that through your other sections. Your application, your Common Apps essay is really your moment to show them what kind of person you are. And they will really decide if you are fit to be at their school, mostly through this application and with the supplementals too.
I think the most important thing about the common essay is show not tell. You can tell and say so many different things, but if you don't actually show like what you want to say on the essay, it doesn't matter. I'm sure like all these colleges have all these stats pulled up of you and all these awards you've won and so and so. So I think the first step you would do in your common app essay would just be going through all the prompts like we said and just choosing the one that best fits you. For me personally, I brainstormed like a lot. I kind of just wrote down a list of all the things I've done throughout my life and what could be a certain topic on what I could write about before finally settling on what I chose to write about. So I think the best thing for you to do is to also be unique in what you write. Like anybody can write about anything. You can talk about how, oh, you did track, but what's so special about track? It's about what you connect and what you bring out about those activities. Like it could be something small. You could say like, I cook every day, and you can write about how it taught you character and how it taught you patience and many other things like that. I think it's the small things and unique things that you bring out about a simple thing that makes your essay unique and stand out to colleges.
That reminds me actually, one of my brother's swim friends, I think he went to Dartmouth, and his personal essay was about cooking steak and reflecting it to swimming, because that was one of his biggest extracurriculars.
So like Catherine and Vincent said, like this is a really like show not tell moment, and this is an opportunity for you to really show who you are and your personality. So for me, how I did this was, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna open a blank page. You're gonna be like, I literally don't know anything about myself, and I don't know what I did. Nothing I do is special, and everyone goes through this process. And I do want to say, like, everything you do is special in one way or another. And my tip is kind of to almost just open up a blank page and just write traits about yourself, like personality traits. And you really like, don't feel embarrassed. Like if you feel like you're dedicated, literally just write dedicated. Like no one's reading it. Don't feel embarrassed that you're writing these things about yourself. And I also think that a lot of the times, like you just want to start writing, literally write about anything. And through writing just a draft, you'll really understand, you'll really start remembering things about yourself and things that you're really good at. And I know, like one of my friends, who also gone to Cornell, she wrote about the Holy Trinity, which is an apple, a pear, and a banana, and how that really, and how an apple, a pear, and a banana symbolize something greater in her life. So you literally could write about anything, and it could be very special in its own way.
So what I'd say for the personal statement is to try experimenting with different topics. So you can pick different prompts. There's 7. You can also there's also like a free writing prompt. You can pick that one too. But I'd say just pick different things, different aspects, different extracurriculars you want to talk about, and just try writing like maybe a bunch of different ones. So I wrote like around 3, I think, about different things. I wrote about I play the violin, and I'm also a diver. So I wrote about those 2, and also wrote about my experiences at DECA. And what we can do is you can have your friends, family, teachers. You can have them read it and give you feedback and help them have them pick one. So I think what I did before I submitted my application was I didn't my counselor read my 3 different personal statements and had her choose like one of them to focus on and improve on, and ultimately like submit.
Daniel just brought it up. Like, you can, like, don't be afraid to ask your friends. Like, through this process, there's a guidance counselor. He's not my guidance counselor, but he called Mr. Kozłowski. And if you need help on an essay, I harassed him like every single week on either my personal statement or my supplementals. And he was the reason why, like, I knew what to write about and I knew what to change. He's had decades of experience on writing essays and supplementals, so he really knows like what works and what doesn't. So like Mr. Kozłowski, like thank you.
So these people like really hit the nail on the head here. They really talk about a lot of like the things you like want to think about when you're writing your college essay. So I just like want to share like a funny story about one of my friends, Daniel Huang. So he's also a graduating senior this year. Unfortunately, he's not here. But he wrote his essay about League of Legends, right? So I'm sure, right? It's like a very popular game, and he was unsure what to write about, and he did that. So what he did was he is actually a professional player. So he just wrote about his coaching experience and connected it to like his interest, which was CS. So I thought that was really interesting, since like you don't have to like really talk about like anything like academic or something like related to what you're actually doing. It could just be something funny or something like personal that you want to share, which is basically what they said before. But yeah, he's doing a Duke, by the way. So yeah.
So what did he wrote?
He wrote about like a video game.
Oh, video game.
Yeah.
And that is yes. Okay.
All right.
Yourself.
I think it turned off. I think it turned off, but
Do you want this one?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. But of course, we know that except for the Common App essay, there are also supplemental essays, right? So 2 things that I want to kind of hear from everybody is how much more important is Common App versus supplemental? Which one do you think has more impact? Which one do you think helped you more? And which one do you think you spent more time on to try to perfect? And also, what really made the supplemental essay? What makes you write about what you want in the supplemental essays?
Me? Oh no, I thought we wanted to go first because it's not participating.
What do you mean?
Okay, so in my opinion, it really depends on the school. Like, are you asking if it's a Common App essay or like all the supplemental essays combined?
So kind of your own experience of supplemental essays,
Okay.
which specific
Okay.
one you may know of?
So because I applied to 60 colleges, well, I only submitted like 8 because I ED to NYU, so I got the result before I could finish all of them. But the supplemental essays definitely took the most chunk of my time. I actually finished my Common App essay mid-July, and then I started working on my like EA applications then. But I feel like the Common App essay is like the big chunk of really showing who exactly you are as a person. That's how they realize, like, do they want you for this school? And they really want to really see your personality through this. Your supplemental essays are more specific, of course, and it really depends on what school. Some of them change every year, but for NYU, it was on bridge building, and I knew that NYU was really big on culture and basically unifying people together. So mine might have been cliche. I don't like writing about cliche stories, but mine was about my mom and me, like building a bridge through like cultural differences, and I think that might have helped me a lot because I think it was very heartwarming.
I think I'm kind of biased in this section because like the college I got into didn't require supplemental essays at all. So it was basically just the Common App that got me in. But I would say I spent the majority of my time on my supplementals and not really that much on my Common App. I would say I think I wrote my supplementals way better than my Common App as I gained experience over time and I got better at writing essays. I would say an important thing is pattern recognition in the supplemental essays. Most of the colleges that you see, they kind of have like the same format, like the same strategy. A lot of the colleges will be using the same like prompts basically. So you can kind of like reuse the same, I would say like essay, like layout. Like don't write the same like university name. Like if you write the same university name, you're kind of good. But I've seen people do it before, and it's not good. So basically just recognize like many colleges have the same format and just try and figure out a good way to basically cheat the system. You want to do the least work possible, to be honest. And yeah, that's it.
Can I add something? Okay, so about like writing the same essay, I really didn't use the same exact essay, but a lot of them across schools, they ask for the same topics, like what is your outside experience, and you could write about volunteering. That's what I did, and I think I used like the same outline for around like 6 of those essays.
Also, I remembered basically every college for some reason had an essay saying if you argued with a person, how did you resolve it? So yeah, that's like one of them.
Yeah, so like about the like repeated essays. So there's around like I think there's 2 of the most common ones is like the academic essay, which is like what major are you interested in pursuing and what career or what like academic area are you interested in? And then there's also the what is it? Oh, it was the like there's a community essay. So a lot of the schools they ask like these 2 supplementals, which is basically just what draws you to our school like based on academics, and then the same thing about community. So I'd say the most important part about your supplemental essays is to do a lot of research into the school. So what you can do is you can like the first step maybe is just search up your school on Wikipedia and just like read through the history, and then you can also for the community one you can watch. There's a lot of YouTube videos like as a freshman, like my experience as a freshman in this university. You can watch those videos. They give you a lot of insight into like just the university in general, and you can like kind of grab experiences they had and put it in your essay. Like you can say, oh, I'm interested in this event that you found out in their video and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I think, Leon, you did say like which one you thought was more important, right? I thought that they were all important equally because for your personal essay, like how I see it as, it's kind of like you showing the best version of yourself and the best personality traits of yourself. But then that's just one side of yourself, and you're so much more than that. And so your supplemental essays kind of show other parts of yourself that you would not have talked about in your personal essay, and they all tie together in one circle to really show the college who you are as a person. So for me, for my personal statement, I never really finished it until the day before it was due because I kept revising and I wrote 3 in total, so I kept going back and forth between my first draft and my 3rd draft, and I ended up using my first draft. So I kept going back and forth revising my first draft and my 3rd draft. And then, yeah, I just kept doing that back and forth. So for my supplemental, it also did take a long time, and I did it simultaneously while I was changing my personal statement. And like, don't feel like pressure because personal statement, like a lot of people are like, oh, you should have a deadline of when to finish it. And I would say like, your personal statement should always be something in progress, and it should never be like finished. And you should continue, because when you go through every day, when you go through your days of a senior year, you will be realizing I could change so much more of my personal statement. So never feel like it has to be finished by a certain time. For my supplementals, a big like topic is community because they really want to see how you can interact with other people and how you can contribute your own personality and who you are as a person into their community. So for my community, for Cornell, I talked about like how I never felt alone because I grew up in a society where people taught me how to treat others right and treat others how you want to be treated. And I did talk a lot about my parents, and when I grew up, I grew up in like a condo, so we had neighbors that felt like family to me, and they basically took care of me when my parents were not around, and that basically taught me and built me into a person that really knew how to take care of other people and help other people.
Actually, let's just you can start the next question. So, more structurally, how did you like think about the way you wanted to write your essay? For example, do you specifically think about all the English courses you take and how they taught you to write it, or also what experiences led you to write about the specific topic that you wrote about your Common App, basically? So it's like structurally, how did you like write your essay? What made you want to write about this topic in your Common App, and like how do you want your essay to sound how do you want your essay to sound towards the admissions office?
Yeah, so basically for like the path that you like sort of want to take, what people told me, especially my counselor, so they were like, you want to show growth in your essay, like what did you learn from your experience? So that's like basically the biggest part of the essay, so like you really want to show that. So yeah, so as like some people said before, like you don't like want to write about hardship, but you should sprinkle, well, I'd sprinkle some in there, so to like develop like my growth as a person. So I think that's something that you could do. So yeah, moving on. What else we got?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know this, but I believe like how they decide like whether you're accepted, rejected, wasted, or deferred. That entire process takes around like the final process where they vote. It takes around like 2 minutes. So like someone basically there's a person that kind of advocates for you. They talk about you as a person, your application, your essays in general, and then around 3 people like vote on whether you should get in or not. And usually like most of the time it's based on like one vote. When one vote is the deciding factor whether you get it or not. So I'd say I heard this, I forgot the exact rate, but it was like keep your application, like your essays at the reading level of around a like middle or elementary schooler, because these like admissions officers, they don't want to like spend a lot of time reading like your essay and trying to like figure out what you're trying to say. So like just keep it simple so that it's easy to understand, but it's still like insightful.
Yeah, so continuing from that, I know so many people. I've read one of my friend's essays, and he just basically put every single simple word into a thesaurus to make it sound more complicated. And I was like, dude, like you don't have to do all that, right? So I'm all for honesty. I feel like that's one of the most important things that they look for in your personal reflection, because they could tell what kind of person you are. If you're just bragging about like how great you are in your personal reflection, I know this is like a really obvious example, but like they're gonna realize that like maybe this person isn't the right fit for our school. Like we don't like this guy, right? And I would just say like don't try to sound like a snob, and the language, as long as your grammar is correct and you're really thorough with your words, you don't need to make it overcomplicated. Like please don't stress too much about it.
I didn't really have a set formula on how I wanted my essay to look like or sound like. I think it's good to go in with like an empty head, I guess, just to test and experiment around with what is a good idea and what isn't a good idea. And I think getting others' opinions also really helps in writing your essays, because you might think it's good, but then someone will catch on to a run-on sentence, or that you over-explain, or that it's too complicated in a certain portion. And I think it also helps to make it simple, like everyone else said, and also add some like key points, I guess, like make certain parts important. You don't want the entire thing to be important. or else people can't read through the whole thing.
All right, so let's get to the last part on our essay section. I'd like to ask, what did you find any essays that you wrote to be fun or interesting to write about, rather than just some boring essays to write to fill in the application requirements?
Yeah, so I think one of the most fun parts for me was just like thinking of like nice hooks to put in your essays, because I think like maybe the first sentence or the first like paragraph of your essays, both Common App and Supplemental, was extremely important, because I forgot to mention this, but sometimes admissions officers, they won't actually read the full length of your essay. They'll stop somewhere in the middle and give you like a grade. So you want to keep your beginning very, very like interesting and as a hook, so they can remember you like specifically. So just I'd like to think of like fun hooks to write up. I remember one of them I started was with it was I think the community essay. I was talking about my experiences and I remember I started one of my first sentences was I hate reading, and I think that was really interesting. I forgot if I actually kept that in the end, but it was just fun to think of like nice hooks, fun hooks like that.
I think one of my favorite parts about writing an essay was definitely the Common App, as it gave you the most freedom in what you could write about compared to supplementals where it has a set prompt that you have to write about. And I think one of the most fun parts I had about writing my Common App was just using similes and just building connections. Like, I remember a certain example was I talked about progress and setbacks, and I connected it to like the sound of a piano, like the sound waves going up and down, showing your progress and the setbacks that you face. Yeah.
So one recurring theme on the most enjoyable essays that I liked writing about were definitely on my background, like my family history and my culture, and like what led me to basically grow as a person. Because a lot of my a lot of what I like a big part of me is my family and how they've shaped me into a person. And I've also really enjoyed them just asking specific qualities about me, or like anything that has to do with what I do in my free time.
So one unexpectedly like really fun thing that I actually enjoyed was writing about the like why the college essay. So like you know like a lot of people like sort of like hate it. It's like sort of tedious, and I get why, right? They're like probably like doing like a lot of like schools like maybe like 20 to 30. I know one of my friends did that. So yeah, it's like so it's like really tedious to write. So since I like applied to like only like 7 since I ED'd one, I think it was like really fun to like research about schools. So especially like going onto their school page, you can like really learn a lot about the school itself and like what particular activities they had. So yeah, so I would recommend you do that if you do write about the why the school essay, since it really shows that you did your research and you're actually interested in the school itself.
So for essays, I actually agree with Dan. I think the best part for me was writing the hooks, because I would say like my strength in all these essays was the hook. And I did pull up one of my essays. It was from Purdue University, and I thought, and this was a supplemental essay, and it was talking about how will opportunities at Purdue support your interests both in and out of the classroom. And I really, really enjoyed writing this specific supplemental because I thought that this is the one that I excelled at the most. And so, like, to give an idea of kind of like what your hook can be about, I wrote like, I'm the girl with never clean hands, covered with dry paint or graphite smudges for my music annotations. Comfort during chaos meant sitting on the patio reading new books on autism. So, like, for your hooks, I often start like centering it around like who I am and almost kind of making a little flowery like language. And this is where like I think taking AP Lang and AP Literature really kind of helped writing these hooks. And I think that writing hooks too also help you kickstart your essay. Like when you have a blank page, just writing a hook really helps you like kind of brainstorm what to write next. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And that concludes our essays section. Let's go to another important section, the academics. So quickly, I'd like to see how important do you think academics were, and such as class choice, GPA, grades. How important do you think those were towards your applications?
Yeah, so I do think it's important that you try to challenge yourself throughout high school. So if your school offers them, take honors and AP classes, and yeah, and try to like keep your grades high. But I'd say it's not like that big of a deciding factor, because if you think about it, there's like thousands of applicants applying to a lot of these like high tier schools, and a lot of them kind of are in the same boat as you. They took a bunch of AP classes, they took a bunch of honors, and they also have a very high GPA or SAT. So I'd say academics are important, but it's kind of like a bar. Like if you meet the bar, then you're fine, and after that, just focus more on extracurriculars and yeah, other stuff like that.
And then who wants to speak?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna like talk about like course rigor for a second. So, right, so high school is just like 4 years, right? So what colleges really want to see is again growth, right? They want to see how you improve during your time in high school. So, I know like a few people whose like GPAs like didn't start that great. Like they were like sort of taking like regular classes and like freshman year, they were maybe like getting like B's or like maybe C's, but they like really locked in during like 10th and 11th grade. They took like a lot more rigorous classes. Like they're taking APs, like AP Chem. I know some are like just like really challenge themselves like course load wise. So I think it's okay if you don't do that great in your freshman year, as long as you show growth. I think that's what colleges care about the most.
Okay, he literally said what I was gonna say, but I don't think that academics are the end of the world. I know in a lot of other countries, like if your family is from like I don't know, like maybe like China for example, like just scoring 10 points higher than the next person would probably give you an upper hand in a university, but that isn't really the case here in America. So I would say for your GPA or SAT for example, as long as you meet the bar or like exactly what the university median score or something would require, maybe that would be a good sign for you to apply. And they wouldn't just pick someone who has a slightly higher SAT or GPA score over you if they really look at your entire portfolio. So that's really what that matters. So they would be a little more forgiving if you take really rigorous classes and you have a slightly lower GPA than someone who has a perfect GPA, but they haven't challenged themselves at all throughout high school. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I guess that's it for the GPA academic section. And we'd like to know more about your personal lives coming up to the application. So how do we balance between all these rigorous courses that we take versus the other activities that we have to do?
Okay, so I feel like you should always try to make a schedule in everything you do beforehand. I know that for me, I started really early on prepping for my SAT, so that way I wouldn't have to worry about it in my junior year and senior year. And basically how I structured writing my applications was the when summer started, I started doing my regular Common App essay. And maybe in July, when I was in the middle of drafting that, I started looking at my earliest due dates, which was in the middle of October. So I would just work on 2 or 3 colleges at a time. So if a college was due in January, maybe I wouldn't start that until November or October. And that way I wouldn't overwhelm myself with every single supplemental at once. And I would always keep a calendar to remind me, like, I should be done with this supplemental essay this time or that time. So I don't have to, like, rush myself that much if I am always keeping track of everything I do.
I think the most important thing is to not procrastinate on your essays. I started my essays pretty early, like all the way back in the July of before 12th grade. So I basically got my Common App done then, and I already started working on my supplementals by way before school started. So I was able to work on all my supplemental essays like 2 months prior to deadline. So even if I took a long time finishing them, I was still able to like get it done by the deadline because I started so early.
Anybody else want to? No, alright, okay, that's fine. So another thing I'd like to see is for a sort of like bar for the students coming up. For your specific major, which classes do you believe were most important and which classes do you think were the least important?
So for me, I'm pre-med again, neuroscience. So for me, for neuroscience specifically, it's very important again that you're very well-rounded, not just in science, but it's actually surprising how you have to be well-rounded in physics and computer science and in math. So what I did, I challenged myself in both math and science because I really do enjoy both. So for junior year, I took AP Bio, and I took AP Bio also because for senior year, I took College Anatomy and Physiology, AP Chem, and AP Calculus BC. And then I think those were very, very important classes to kind of allow yourself to explore where you're going to get yourself into when you are a pre-med student. And I think taking anatomy and physiology specifically, I really recommend taking that class because it really, really allows you to see, oh, am I someone that is willing to take on this challenge, and am I fit for med school? Because anatomy and physiology, no one really tells you this because it's kind of like a niche course in my opinion, but it truly was one of the most challenging classes I've ever encountered because of the sheer amount of material the teacher pushes you to memorize, not only memorize, but you have to memorize and apply. This class is truly not an easy course, and you cannot memorize your way through it. And that goes along with med school. A lot of the times it's application, not memorization. And anatomy and physiology also kind of teaches you how to be, almost like how to deal with burnout, because I was definitely very, very burnt out. And Mrs. Steinberg, who was the teacher of it, really she's pushing you throughout. So even summer, during June, when everyone's pretty much done with their classes, you still have finals. We had a 2-day final about a week ago, and that was really a struggle. And for least important courses, I would say, not any courses for me are least important or not important, but the ones that I didn't take in senior year, I did not take AP Micro or AP Government, because I'm not very strong in social studies or anything like that, so I decided not to put a lot of my time and effort into kind of like that kind of sector.
Yeah, I also wanted to add a little bit to the question, not just for you, for everybody, kind of more like which courses do you wish you have taken or wish you have not taken, and which courses did you truly enjoy going through?
Okay, let me answer the first part of that question first about the most important and least important. So I think that definitely AP for a business or finance major, the most important classes you want to take are AP Macro, Micro, Statistics definitely, and Calculus. And even though I know Syosset offers a lot of college business classes, I would say probably something as elementary as investment decision making as an underclassman would help you get a lot more well-versed and familiar with the world of investing and finance. And I definitely think college accounting played a huge role because it's really the class that I loved the most and made me really want to get into business. And at first I really wanted to be an accounting major, but then I chose to do finance because I don't know. But anyways, for the least important classes, I think I would say probably any science courses like physics, because I am just not like a physics person, and I do very badly in that. But I do wish I could have taken more science courses. And also for NYU, I think that statistics and micro macro are super important because they actually don't give you any credit for that at Stern. So once I go to college, I have to retake all of that again. So it's good to take in high school so you get familiar before college.
Yeah. So I'm also going to finance. So yeah, the business classes are definitely important, and the economics classes are also really important. So I would definitely recommend taking that if you're going to business into the future. And I think a course that no one really talks about, or like something that I really enjoyed and helped me a lot, was taking public speaking. Because I think in a way it does help you push your boundaries, and in business you have to speak a lot in the future. You have to go to business meetings, you have to present your project and portfolio. So I think taking public speaking was a class that I hated it, but at the same time I think it really helped me, since it made it easier to just speak in front of the audience, and it just pushes your boundaries, if you know.
Yeah, again, so I'm undecided. So I think one of the most important things if you're undecided right now is just focus taking on classes with harder course loads, and also AP and dual enrollment classes, because once you get into college, you can, a lot of these AP credits, they can be transferred and they can help you like place out of classes into harder classes, or also, it can also help you graduate early. Like I know someone who chose actually a, like Stony Brook over like a higher 220 school, just because they accept more credits, and because of that he can graduate, I think, a year or two early. Yeah, and for the second part of your question, the class that I think I regret not taking was, I'd say AP World 1 year, because I remember like going into 9th grade, it was a 9th grade class, because so ASSET does it differently for AP World. It's a 2-year course, and the second year is when you take the AP. I ended up only taking the first half of it, so I did not take AP World, the actual AP itself, because sophomore year I moved on to AP Euro, because I thought I'd be more interested in that. And I thought, yeah, so I was kind of scared of taking AP World 1 year because I kind of heard bad things about it in 8th grade. I'm like, I don't really know if I wanted to do it. But yeah, I ended up hearing from the class, I heard it was curved and stuff like this, and I was like, maybe I should have given it a shot. So I'd say one of the things you want to try in high school is just take the harder class. You can always drop it if you're struggling or if it's like affecting your GPA. And it doesn't really hurt that much for like not giving it a shot.
Yes, I'm also a biology pre-med. So like similar to Sue, I unfortunately didn't take anatomy this year, which is I think my biggest regret in high school. So when you're applying to med school, right? So it's like way future, but you have to take the MCAT, and the MCAT has an anat section, anatomy, and you sort of need to really know it in depth. So if you're going on the med track, I think anatomy is like you really should take it, so you can have like a better time in college. It's like you've already know like the fundamentals, so you can like better build your knowledge base. And yeah, so also like a bit as into pre-med as well. So for NYU at least, I don't know about Sue, but they actually don't take my AP credits since I'm doing pre-med. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure it's because they don't like trust the schools to actually teach the curriculum well. So they want to probably do it in their school, so they ensure that their kids are actually doing well in the class.
All right, thank you very much for this academic section. I think the next thing that we want to talk about is more personal. So for your college specifically, for example, NYU, Vanderbilt, what about the college have you seen or researched in that really made you kind of like help you get into that college? What specific thing about each college for each individual helped you make it into that college? No, it's more like what helped you get into, like, what about the college that you looked into really helped you helped you really get into that college? For example, any research that you've done that really tailored your essays or academics towards their curriculum or their like application team?
Okay, so just starting off with NYU, I know they are super big on diversity and interglobal culture, so I basically leaned my essay into that. I mentioned before about how I wrote about the cultural difference between my mom's generation and mine, and I think definitely that helped me, that definitely influenced my college admission, I would say. And yeah. Anything else?
Anybody else want to say?
Like what you said basically.
Yeah, so I say for Vanderbilt, we had one supplemental essay, and I remember, I guess what they liked is, I remember I researched and they put all their freshmen into like this, I think this is called like the Ingram Commons House. So all the freshmen are like pretty like close proximity to each other, which helps us connect more. So I think I mentioned that in my essay, and I think that helped me a lot.
Sue?
So I think one of Cornell's biggest core values is that they want to see that you are willing to reach your hand out and help other people, and that was one of their supplementals too. I think it was the first supplemental on how you can contribute to the community by reaching your hand out and helping other people. So again, since I'm also pre-med, I centered my personal statement and my supplementals on the fact that I do really like helping people, and so the fact that I was a teacher assistant part of an autism program did show that I'm not only interested in my own, not only interested in med, but I'm willing to help people when they're in need of it, and yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And now we get to a kind of more like advice or reflection section of this session, which is when you're applying for your college, how many of you guys have gotten through ED or EA? Let's see.
Wait, what?
How many of you guys got in, just went to the college that you made it through ED or EA?
Like the one we picked.
Yeah, the one you picked. Is it no? Okay, so for the people who did make it through ED or EA versus the people who didn't make it through ED or EA, really, are you very glad to have finished it early, or for the people who didn't make it into the ED or EA, do you really regret it?
Okay, so I got my admission in early December, and I think the beneficial part is that you basically know where you're going, and you don't have to be under constant stress about when is my next application coming out. But I think the hardest part about this is just like trying not to sneeze off in senior year, because you already know that like, oh, I'm gonna go here. All you have to do is not get rescinded if I do too badly at school. But I feel like I'm really grateful that I got into my ED, because I actually started a new job right after that. So basically, like, with how expensive college is nowadays, I really want to be able to finance my like at least personal stuff. So I've been working hard ever since.
So my advice is, so I got in for ED, and then I want to tell everyone that if you don't get into ED, like, don't be afraid, because a lot of people are like, oh my god, after you get into ED, now you can slack off, and now people think you have the time of the world and you have so much time on your hands and you can't do anything. But like personally, I feel like I was more stressed after I got into ED, because Cornell was my dream school, and now I was under constant pressure of what happens when I get rescinded. So now I think I was actually more on top of my work after I got into my EDs, which is kind of strange. I don't know, but that's how I kind of functioned. And then, so like, I guess if your friend gets into ED in the future and you didn't, like, don't feel like you're missing out on anything. But I am very grateful that I did get into my ED, because now I had one thing off of my list of my senior year. So that was kind of like the benefit of it. So yeah.
Yeah, so similar to them, applying ED and getting in really takes the stress off your shoulders. And as Catherine said before, like you can like really get to do other stuff that you like really like didn't have the time to do before, since you're like always like focusing on like your extracurriculars, or like maybe like other stuff, right? So because of that, I got to like do like a lot of stuff that I like maybe didn't have the chance to do before, which I found really fulfilling.
It's,
So I got in through EA, so it wasn't like I got in through ED. I could just like slack off and say I'm done. So I think getting through EA gives you like a good sense of where you're at and that you have an option to rely on, to fall back on if everything fails. So I think it kind of gave me like false confidence because then I went to regular decisions and it kind of just smacked me in the face and told me no. So I think it's good to get in early. Like even if you don't get in through your early decision, you get in through early action. It's good because it gives you an option to fall back on. You can go into regular decision knowing that you have what it takes to do good. But then, they just told me no. So
Yeah, so I applied to Vanderbilt through RD, but I did also ED and EA to a lot of different schools. So I think the benefit of that is it kind of helps you like divvy up the work because otherwise like you don't want to be writing like 20 or 10 or 20 like different, 10 or 20 something essays for those schools like all during Christmas break because that's kind of like a terrible Christmas break, you know. But that's another benefit of getting it through ED. Like you can kind of enjoy yourself a little bit more. But also, yeah, I also say divvying up the work is also very useful.
all right, thank you for all of these. Thank you for all your views on this. Now, one last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is how do you think the community around you helped you with your application, such as your family, friends, or SciOSIT's education programs?
Okay, so I feel like I don't know what was wrong with me at the beginning of the year, but I was really scared to ask for help around people around me, just due to the fear that they would somehow like get in and I wouldn't or something like that. But I realized that everyone is so happy to help. Like no one is going to try to actively sabotage you unless they're crazy. But like you can literally just go to your guidance counselor and then like harass them all the time, like always like make appointments and ask them like what do you think about my essay, or I know a lot of people also go to their English teachers and ask for their opinions. So I feel like you would be surprised by how much people would want to help you, even with your closest friends. If they're really good at English or writing, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be willing to help you. And also adding on, I know a few people might want to get like counselors outside of school, which is totally fine. Like I know if you're just unsure about everything, you need some other person's advice. It's totally fine to get one.
So like Catherine said, again, don't be afraid to ask for help. For me, I'm always constantly asking questions, so I kind of was like asking everyone around me. I have a friend, she was insanely good at writing, and I like set up meetings with her, and I constantly asked her, can you check this essay or the other essay, and she was very willing to help, and a lot of times, again, like Catherine said, you'll be surprised how eager people are to help you, and because when you read other people's essays, you get an idea of how you are doing too, so no one's ever gonna say like no to you unless they're like extremely like mean or whatever. But also guidance counselors too, like definitely take advantage of your guidance counselors. For me, during like the writing process, I didn't really go to my own guidance counselor. I went to Mr. Cos just because he had like a lot more experience. So, and also for my own guidance counselor, I went to her at least 2 times or 3 times a week asking like different questions either on the application itself or like the writing too. So don't be afraid to ask for questions.
So I'll talk a little about SAS specifically. So what I liked about it is just this like atmosphere and it's like academic opportunities. So like SASIT has a lot of AP classes you can take and a lot of like honors too. So I think taking these classes and being around people who are also like completely like locked in all their years or studying, like I think that kind of helped me also like what is it called? Like kind of be more like them. It's like being around people with that kind of mindset also helped me kind of I guess lock in a way.
Okay, that's I guess everybody. And thank you very much for all your answers. And I'd say for the last question of the day, looking back on your application, what do you wish you could have done better, or what do you think ultimately helped you succeed in your college application?
I'll go first. So I think what I think I could have done better was my supplemental essays. So I started my my Common App personal statement in around summer, but supplemental essays I kind of put them off because most of them didn't come out, and then before I knew it was like during the school year I was really busy. So then what ended up happening was I was working on like supplemental essays for different schools, like kind of during the due dates for a lot of the schools during both like the EAED season, which is like the last week of October into November, and then also Christmas break, because a lot of schools for RD it's due in the beginning of the year, like the 1st up to like the 5th. So I think I could have started my supplementals a lot earlier and maybe some of them done, or at least a final draft ready to go, so I can at least like look them over in that final week instead of like trying to write them out.
Okay, so one of my biggest regrets was so I think there was like a reason why I didn't like really answer the last question, and that was because I didn't really ask too much for help, which was unfortunately bad, right? So right, so you want feedback because like getting like a lot of feedback on your essay really helps to develop it, since like you reading your own essay sort of like gives you like the wrong direction in a way. So like other people like just helping you would, I think, have structured it a lot better. So yeah, my essay like wasn't like too great. So I think like asking people for help would have made it a lot better.
So I agree with Daniel because I was very poor on time. Like time management was always an issue for me. So timing wise, I was very rushed on like all my supplementals, and like I'm kind of saying this also to like comfort other people too, because the day was due, which I think was November 1st, right? November 1st, I had one personal statement and I had I think I had 7 or 8 supplementals that I had all done, but they were not edited. So I spent all day on November 1st. That was a due date, editing all of those, and that's because I had really poor time management. And the day before, I didn't even touch Purdue's supplemental essays. So the day before the due date of Purdue's, I was writing Purdue supplementals while also trying to like edit my personal statements. So definitely like try to create almost like a schedule. And also the reason why I did not like my time management was so poor was because I was always so on top of schoolwork, because I did not want to I want my grades to drop, and I was so stressed about like my grades dropping just even a little bit. But I definitely would like recommend almost not even using the word sacrifice, but kind of putting your mind off of schoolwork for like a second, because you should almost take priority of your like your essays at this very moment instead of your like schoolwork, I would say.
Yeah, so I agree with Sue, and it was really hard for me to keep on top of my supplementals the longer it went on. I was like on fire all summer, but the problem was that I was submitting these essays thinking that they were absolutely terrific until I read them a month later and realized, oh my god, like I should have redone this whole thing again. So I feel like you should definitely take a lot of breaks in between your writing sessions and always look at your own essay with a fresh pair of eyes, because even though you might be writing everything on this day, the next day you might realize that I really don't quite like how I wrote it. And you can always redo it again, but make sure not to procrastinate on it too much.
I think what I definitely could have done better for my application was definitely do a lot more extracurriculars related to my major. Compared to like a lot of other people applying in my major, I didn't really do much. I basically did like no activities related to it. So I would just say general advice is just don't be lazy. I kind of just wanted to go home and just go to sleep instead of like going to any club. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much for all of our panelists for opening all those experiences. And before we end the session, if there are any questions that the audience have for the panelists, please ask them now.
I have a question about to Sue. So before you mentioned you get a teacher assistant for the artisan part. Is a class or course from school or outside?
So it was an outside program. So my mom, she is getting her license for special needs therapy. So she is very she has a lot of connections, and she's very close to home on who I could go out to for shadowing or just opportunities on neuroscience. So she was the one that did find me the opportunity, and I could share it with you if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for Daniel specifically. So it's a legit question. So I heard that in the beginning there wasn't too much success, but I just wanted to know sorry, don't take it that way. I was just asking. I just meant once you not get that verdict that you were not into the college, how did you think that you changed your essay a lot, or how did that impact your way of your second chances at admissions for other schools?
So are you talking about after ED and EAs?
Yeah, exactly. After you get your verdict that you're not into the school, did you change your essays at all, and how did you overcome this supposedly L that you took?
Okay. So for my ED, I ED'd to UPenn and I got deferred. So I wasn't obviously getting deferred, which means they evaluated again for RDs. I wasn't too excited, but I wasn't crestfallen or anything. I think what I did rewrite, or I picked a different personal statement to submit during my RD season. But yeah, I think one of the good things about E and ED is you can learn from it and you can apply it again during your RD season. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, sorry, I was just more hoping on what exactly did you change in your personal statement?
I picked a different topic, and because I thought I would pick something different to maybe emphasize my personal statement. So I think before I wrote about either violin or diving, and then in my RD season I changed it to write about DECA.
DECA.
One for Vince specifically. Why did you choose business and finance?
Because you make money.
I think basically both my parents work in the business sector, so that definitely played a factor. And since I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do, I think business school is just kind of just an option you could go to, because I didn't really want to be undecided. And I also had a family friend who's an investment banker, so he kind of showed me around, took me to NASDAQ and different things. I thought maybe this is a good career option. It makes a lot of money, so let's just go for it.
When did you decide to pick it?
I think summer before the 12th grade. I honestly didn't think I was gonna do business until then. It's just last year.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask generally, how much of you guys are first generation? You guys could raise your hands.
How many of you guys are first generation? Yes.
What? First generation. It's raps.
I'm second gen.
Austin's first gen. I mean, I don't think it gives you that much of an advantage, to be honest. I mean, it definitely helps you, but as long as you work hard, I don't know. You should be fine. Because I feel the majority of people aren't first generation too. It's not like only they are getting into T20 schools.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, I think that's everybody. Can we have another round of applause for the panelists here?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.